Welcome to the We're Good podcast, where we are celebrating the everyday brilliance of people working toward a more positive world. If you're looking for the good that's taking place around you, you've come to the right place. DC Scores is an after-school program that has the backing of DC United, the Washington Spirit, and some major soccer stars. But this program is producing poet athletes. That's right, it's helping kids hone their skills on and off the field, playing soccer, while also finding their voices at local poetry slams. It's the brainchild of a DC public school teacher. And in today's episode, you'll hear from one of the aspiring poet athletes and how she's performing on some of the biggest stages in our nation's capital. How DC Scores is meeting its goals and making a difference on the We're Good podcast. Welcome back to the We're Good podcast. I'm Leah Necessary Brownlee, your host, and we're excited to be here today to learn about an amazing program that started right in DC. It's called DC Scores, and it's a wonderful program that combines soccer with poetry. Yes, we are going to tell you all about it today, and we're excited to have our two guests with us. Kayla Nelson is one of the poet athletes, and we're going to talk a little bit about how you got involved, and we appreciate you being here with us today. And Tony Francavilla, who is the Chief Development Officer with DC Scores, and you've been there for 9 years, and we're going to hear more about that and how much you just love this program. It is great. So let's start with DC Scores. And for our audience who might not know, as we said, it is an after-school program, but it is much more than just soccer. Tell us about, and I love the logo because it is a soccer ball with a pencil through it for a reason. So Tony, tell me what this is.
Yeah, so at DC Scores, first and foremost, we're about building a generation of poet athletes. You referred to Kayla before as a poet athlete. She very much is one. And we are about building poet athletes. And the way that we do that is through a school-based after-school program. Soccer is our through line throughout the year. So we're kitting kids out shoulders to shins, busting them to away games. They're playing full-fledged soccer leagues. But in the fall, they write and perform original poetry. And in the spring, on non-soccer days, they design and execute service projects, often based on the themes dealt with in the poetry. So it's this kind of mind, body, soul, whole child approach to youth development. And the poet athlete, the term means much more than that, right? They are young people who prioritize their mental and emotional health as well as their physical health. And a big part of it is they're young people who are using their skills, their platform, their voice to make change in their communities, to speak up against injustice. And we fundamentally believe that the world needs more poet athletes. And that's what we're doing through our program.
And this has really changed in scope, right? Started in DC in 1994. Can you give me just a quick journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1994, there was a little competition going on called the World Cup that was in the United States, yes. But the 94 World Cup had just happened, right? Including games here at DC in RFK Stadium. And there was a 5th grade teacher named Julie Kennedy who was at Marie Reed Elementary School in Adams Morgan. And she kind of noticed there was a group of girls without anything to do after school. And soccer was her passion, right? She had grown up as a soccer player. She said, hey, you want to learn this sport that I love? And they said, yes, absolutely. They kept coming back day after day. Weather got crappy, had to move inside. They're like, Miss Kennedy, what now? And creative writing was her art form of choice. So they started talking about what scared them, what excited them about their school, their neighborhood, their city. And since they built that kind of camaraderie on the soccer field, they were able to be more open and more vulnerable. Fast forward 30 years, we serve 3,500 poet athletes just in DC in 68 Title I elementary and middle schools. And we've spun off 12 other cities in North America through the Scores network. So we're serving thousands of poet athletes a year. But it all started one team, one school right here in DC 30 years ago.
So when people listen, I just love that. It started with someone who had a passion, and she put her two passions together and created this wonderful thing. And here with us sits Kayla Nelson, who is one of those poet athletes. Kayla, tell us what now, I do want to tell people who are listening, you are 13 years old.
Yes.
You are, but when they hear your resume and what you have done in the past 3 years with DC Scores, they're going to be amazed. Just tell us, what was life like before DC Scores and what's it like now? And you came to this through the middle school program, right?
So I started doing just soccer in 5th grade, and then through middle school I did the writing. Before my life with DC Scores, I wrote a little bit, but I didn't really write poetry. So I would do essays and stuff. But through DC Scores, I kind of discovered that, oh, I can actually rhyme this. I can play with words. I can do metaphors, and it kind of helped me discover what I wanted to do in life and what I wanted to do in my career. And it kind of just helped me form a bond with everybody in DC Scores, of course, and it helped me form like a better relationship with writing and seeing what I wanted to do when I grow up.
And you and I have talked about it. What is it you want to do when you grow up?
I want to do journalism.
I think that's awesome. I have that background, and I'm just really excited that you were able to find this with a program like this. And of course, the soccer is fun too.
Yeah.
Right. You enjoy it. But tell us a little bit about where you have been lately and what you've been doing.
So my most recent event was a Do the Right Thing convention, and it was held in Washington, D.C. I got to go meet a representative in Congress, D.C.'s representative. I got to go to Supreme Court. I have my piece in the Library of Congress in a book. And it was just really nice, and DC Scores introduced me to Do the Right Thing. And so my coaches and the staff said, oh, you should sign up for this program. So that's how I got into Do the Right Thing.
That's wonderful. And your poem for Do the Right Thing?
Yes, my poem is called Lullaby to Goodnight. It's about a boy who was shot and killed outside my school, but he was a DC Scores poet athlete. And so it kind of just looped back to the whole thing of what DC Scores is and how you can express yourself through DC Scores.
You talk about the expression. And what does that mean for you to, as Tony was saying, find your voice?
So before I started writing poetry, I didn't really speak out. And so I feel like these scores kind of gave me a voice to speak out because regular me and poetry me are two different people. So I can kind of play off that. And I could be in performance mode, I can be in regular mode. And I feel like I can advocate more since I've had poetry.
Tell me more about that.
So I feel like I'm more of an expressive person. So like I like to rhyme a lot. I like to do metaphors. So I feel like DC Scores and the family kind of pushed me to be a writer and be the person I am today. And especially helping me with public speaking and advocating more and being able to just stand up for people who feel like they don't have a voice.
It's hard for me to even picture Kayla not speaking out, right? Because I've only known her since she's been at DC Scores and I've seen her on stage. So that's wild to even think about.
Yeah. And Tony, you've been with this program for 9 years. Is this why you do what you do?
Yeah, and Kayla is exceptional. I'm not going to sit here and say Kayla is not an
But
absolutely
you
exceptional
have
poet
so many,
athlete.
right?
And
so
but
many.
absolutely there are, and again, this poet athlete concept, different young people are going to come at it in different ways, and it's going to mean a little something different to different young people. But if they are being on a team, if they are expressing themselves physically and creatively, if they are caring about and getting engaged with their community, that's a fundamentally good thing.
Yeah. And why are these after school programs, which out of school time programs, so vital if people don't, I mean, there are lots, but there aren't enough. Is that?
Yes, there are lots and there aren't nearly enough, I would say. School is incredibly important, but then the school day ends.
Right.
There is always this gap from, 4 to 6, 3:30 to 6:30, whatever, however folks want to kind of define those out of school time, after school hours. Um, it is a kind of a critical period in both directions. It's a period where a lot of bad things that can happen, and it's a period where a lot of really good things can happen. Um, and there is a need for more out of school time programming and after school seats There's a lot going on right now, even where some of the funding that schools and school districts rely on for after school programming is in jeopardy. So organizations like DC Scores that do their own fundraising to supplement what schools offer on their own is all the more important to make sure that young people are engaged in those out of school time hours. They're interacting with one another. They have access to and are interacting with positive mentors, and that they're safe. But they're safe and they're having fun and they're staying engaged and they're linking that school day time with that after school time. And there are sadly still thousands of kids just in DC who do not have access to those out of school time seats.
And you said that was also, you brought that to my attention. It was just mentioned in a news report about linking the truancy rate and
Yeah,
uh,
the Washington Post a few weeks back did a big investigative piece talking about kind of the growth of truancy, particularly in middle schools, predating COVID, and what that has led to. And there's a correlation between truancy rates and crime, youth violence. Kayla mentioned this tragedy of a couple years ago where one of our program alumni was killed, and um, it's kind of, again, more poet athlete vibes, though, that inspired this poem, that inspired action on the part of our poet athletes. So in that same Post article where it's talking about, I mean, parts of it are very bleak, where it's talking about the high truancy rate, a lot of the reasons. One of the ways that data shows that we can mitigate truancy is with strong after school programs. Um, Again, a program like DC Scores, it's fun. Like, kids will come to school to
Yeah.
be at DC Scores. Um, and so in that same article, it talks about one of our schools, Brookland Middle School. Um, they're kind of shown as an example of a high performing after school programming, but also a school that has been affected and a team that has been affected by gun violence. So I mentioned that our model is soccer, poetry, and service learning. And service learning is actually a really important piece that often gets forgotten. And the way to think about it is writing, right? It's soccer and writing. The fall is writing for expression. The spring is writing for action. And so that Brookland Middle School team, their service project was organizing their own youth-led town hall on gun violence, where they invited the DC Office of the Attorney General Schwab, and his colleagues. They had a delegation in from Baltimore. They had a delegation in from the school districts, so that our poet athletes and other young people could speak out about this issue and kind of some potential solves.
wow, that's a lot
Yeah.
to do all of that at young ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, so we talked a little bit about why people want to be a part of this. That there's not enough, but what you had was very special. What makes it special? Kayla, tell like, what's a day like at DC Scores?
A day at DC Scores is, well, after you go to school, you meet with your coaches, and sometimes when you do the poetry part, you write, and then you go out and play soccer, or you do writing one day, and then sometimes I coach the sessions. So it was pretty fun to see how people were thinking and about all the stuff that they can advocate for. So when you look into the lens of DC Scores, you can see that students are definitely have a safe space to express themselves in,
Yeah.
and they have opportunities and places where they can go to be heard. And so after you write, you can go out and play soccer with your friends. And, I even have some of my friends are like, no, I want to go to school because I want to play soccer. And they would go to school, they would do their best, especially like on our team, we have to have B's or up to be on the team. So we
Okay.
made sure that we all had good grades. And so that would make people want to go to school. And they're like, no, I want to go to school. I want to play soccer. I want to do poetry. And even our volunteer work. Last year, we did a fundraiser and a food giveaway for unhoused people. And we let everybody come up and get food. And so it's really just a life in DC Scores looks like being able to advocate for people, one, being a better person, and kind of just um, being able to express yourself and be you in a safe space.
It's wonderful. And as you were saying about the service project, was that your service project?
Yes.
That's wonderful. And so how do you guys come about that? What do you discuss it? Do you take somebody's poem that they wrote? How does that come about? I'm just interested.
So how we did it was we all just looked at our communities and looked at the problems in our communities, and we all kind of talked about one issue, and it was like there's so many unhoused people who don't have the help they need, and so we decided to donate clothes, toys, food, all of that, and so we just decided to get together and help the community.
What did you feel like afterwards?
It felt really good, especially since it was a fun time. Me and my friends went out and we went to people's houses and we told them to tell their neighbors and stuff. So it was definitely community building too,
Yeah.
and it was good bonding.
It's really
Really
exciting.
bonding,
Yeah.
voice, Tony, that's
Yeah, well, and it's really exciting for me to hear a poet athlete talk about what the experience feels like through their lens because so every component of our program is backed by a curriculum. There we have a soccer curriculum, we have elementary and middle school poetry curricula, we have a service learning curriculum. And this is kind of where you get to that other special sauce of our program, which is that the vast majority of our coaches are writing and soccer coaches, are teachers or staff from within the school that they're coaching in.
I'm so glad you brought that up because people might not realize these are your teachers you see every day, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And so, like, again, we were founded by a teacher. So the model has stayed the same, and that part of the model has stayed the same. So we have about 300 plus soccer and writing coaches that we hire from within the school building. We train, we pay, we don't bring in outsiders to run our programming at our school. And that's super intentional, right? These are adults that our poet athletes and their families know and trust. So at our, our DC Scores Central office, our entire role is just to make sure our coaches have everything they need and are well set up to do what they do as teachers.
Yeah.
Make that curriculum their own. So it's fun listening to Kayla talk about the service learning piece because I know in the curriculum there's an early lesson that's almost like a neighborhood walkabout or observation where you're just talking about what you see. And so seeing how that actually then manifests into projects every year is awesome.
And they did it.
Yeah,
They walked the neighborhood. And in walking the neighborhood, you get to know your neighborhood even better, right? Yeah. That's wonderful. And how about having teachers that are there and then you see them after school? Does that help with the bonding?
Yeah, it
During
definitely
the
brought
school
me
day?
closer to my teachers and closer to my team. So we all got to see a different side of our teachers and kind of let them let loose. And they definitely seeing them have fun. Like my coach, Mr. Zatina, we definitely all got a closer bond with him. And he even put us in our same advisory as him because he's like, no, these are my soccer girls, and I'm going to stick with
Aw,
them.
that's awesome.
our executive director now, Katrina Owens, she's been at DC Scores 20 years maybe, but she started as a teacher, a DC public school teacher and a coach. So I'll try to paraphrase her, but she speaks with a lot more authority on this. One of the big benefits of DC Scores as a program to our teachers is that they get to connect with not just their students, but their students' families in a different way. It helps them connect the daytime hours to the after school hours. It helps them connect with families at a poetry slam or on the sideline of a game day in a more positive way than, if there's a disciplinary issue or just like, your one sit down during parent teacher conference. We hear again and again from our coaches how important this is for them to build a connection to their school environment. And then a lot of our coaches too, when they leave a school, if they stay in the school system, a lot of them are looking at, does the school that I'm thinking about going to have DC Scores? And that will become part of their decision making even.
Wow, that's great. And you guys are sponsored by a lot of major soccer teams. Tell us about your sponsors because that's what keeps it going, right?
I'll give the shout out and then you can talk, Kayla, specifically about just the ones you've gotten to know. and
Yes,
meet. But
absolutely.
so DC Scores is the official community partner of both DC United and the Washington Spirit, the two professional teams here in DC. But we're also the official community partner of Busboys and Poets, right? So our poet athletes are exposed very regularly to the absolute elite soccer players, professional men's and women's soccer players, but also the absolute cream of the crop when it comes to professional spoken word artists. So, I just saw Kayla last week at summer camp, and she was with Malachi Bird, who's a former DC Youth Poet Laureate. You've performed with Clint Smith, Jason Reynolds, Rudy Francisco. I don't know if there are any big VIPs that have made an impression on you.
Yeah. How
So-
about that? And you've been on some major stages too, Kayla. Goodness. Rena stage, the Oprah Winfrey stage, right?
Yes.
So what's made an impression on you?
So definitely being able to meet experienced poets was nice, especially busboys and poets. So I've even been invited to open mics by people too. So it was nice to be able to branch my views in different places, and especially being able to see soccer players too and meet professional soccer players during practice. And it's been really nice being able to see professionals and see how I want to lead my career in poetry and in soccer.
Yeah, you get to meet some of the top in this spoken word.
Yeah, DC is a soccer town, but DC is a poetry town too.
Yeah.
So this poet athlete movement, it always should have come from DC. Like it just makes sense.
And of course, we did touch on the fact that yes, you have some great sponsors, but more is needed.
More is needed.
Yeah.
So we
What are your biggest challenges? We didn't get to touch on this, Tony. I want to touch on this before we leave. One of your biggest challenges, transportation.
yes.
Yeah,
So a fundamental tenet of our program is removing all obstacles to participation. Transportation is a big obstacle to participation for the families that we serve. So we run the programming where they are in schools. But when I say we run full-fledged leagues, that means away games at other schools. We have these great partnerships with DC United in the Spirit, where we actually have a whole section at the stadium for our kids, but they got to get there to get to Poetry Slam, to get to Our Words, Our City. DC Public Schools doesn't have a bus system. So we charter all of those buses and we commit to that. And it is the more we grow, the more massive of a cost that becomes. So yeah, we're as big as we've ever been, 68 schools, 3,500 kids, and we still can't meet the demand. We've got about a 20 school wait list, 20 schools that we want to get into in order to be in every single Title I elementary, middle school, and DC public schools.
And I think you guys have already talked about it a little bit, but we're going to dig a little deeper. To peel back the curtain, look behind the scenes. What makes DC Scores special with all the programs that are out there? But what could somebody like our audience not find on your website or read about you all? What makes it special?
You go first. I know you're prepped.
Kayla's ready. I know. She has now become this amazing speaker.
So what makes DC Score special is, unlike other programs, we actually form bonds and we become a family. Like, even when there's not practice, we contact each other on the phone. We go out to eat sometimes. It's really nice, and we check up on each other. So DC Scores it's not even like an organization anymore. It's like a family. And so we all check up on each other. I know one of our team members, they had a baby. And so we were all checking up on her. And it was really nice to just be there together. And especially like even if we're going through hard stuff, if people get sick and stuff, we're all still together. And so it kind of just makes us a whole big family. And I feel like other organizations don't really have that a lot. So it's more like a partnership than a family. And I feel like we have the family side.
The family side of it.
Can I say something on that before I
Yes.
go to mine? So I love that answer. So Our Words, Our City, which is our big poetry showcase that we do each year and that Kayla's been in the last couple years. The most recent one was at Woolly Mammoth Theater, sold out crowd. We had, these incredible poet athletes, but we also had Rudy Francisco there, who's like one of the biggest names in spoken word. But the best part of that for me, and I think for a lot of people there, was all of our performing poet athletes were kind of in one box at Woolly Mammoth off to the side of the stage. And more often than not, I found myself watching them watch their teammates
Oh.
because the level of hype was amazing. And we're talking, we kind of build on the generations of this Our Words, Our City cohort. So you had little like third graders, but then you have kids who are in high school and beyond. and you can see that kind of those family vibes, and that I'm watching them watch their friends, and it's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing because it becomes like a family. And also, I can't end this without saying this is not easy what you do. You get up there in middle school and you get on a stage. I mean, I think
And
that's
you
one of
start in elementary school.
right.
And I think that
it-
that's you
yeah.
kind of that would be the answer, my answer to the question of what's different. Naturally, you are going to get kids who are bigger, faster, stronger, better on the soccer field.
Sure.
They are not always, and in fact, I would even say rarely, the same poet athletes who are kind of naturally confident enough to take the stage right away. I want to do a big solo at the poetry slam. But the beauty of it is that, through this model, all of our kids have an opportunity to be out of their comfort zone, but also to excel, to be a leader. And whether you're on a soccer field and that's
Right.
may not be your most comfortable environment, you have your teammates. When you're on the poetry stage and you are freaking out, forgetting the line, this happens all the time, you have your teammates. And I think that's the coolest part of it.
I mean, even Tony, we've been to a lot of events together too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Italian Embassy, we've been to some fancy events together. I'm always down to hang with Kayla and her mom and her grandmother
and even-
anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, even him holding my purse before I go up on stage because
If I need to hold her purse and she needs to go on stage, I am very honored to do that.
Team
anytime.
player.
Anytime.
You're a team player. And Kayla, I'm going to let you close it out. Why is it so important to have more DC scores?
it's important to have more DC scores just because a lot of times young people don't have a lot to do. And that's why they get roped into all this bad stuff. And I feel like DC scores definitely helped a lot, even my classmates, to stay focused on one thing and stay focused on them and their learning. And it just helps you become a better individual. And it just helps you have a better bond with your teammates, even your family. And it helps prevent a lot of the issues that we have today. And I just feel like DC scores really helps everybody.
We cannot wait to watch your journey, to continue and keep up with you because you're doing great things, Kayla. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, purse anytime.
And hold your purse anytime. Tony, thank you too.
Absolutely.
And some of the things that you mentioned, of course, about DC scores you can find on your website, which we will put on our website, which is we'regood.net. And we really hope that you'll continue to watch, listen, follow, and share what you've learned today because as we like to say, we're good and you're good and we can all make a difference.